I just wanted to say before I start the video, thanks for watching, and also if I seem tired, it's because I had just gotten off of work when I shot it, so that might be why I seem like I'm not really all the way focused in as much at that point. Um, but I think I got pretty much everything. I might have missed like a thing or two when I was analyzing, so that's about it. And also, hope y'all guys get something good out of the video, and thanks for watching. Okay, so this is my game against EveBot, rated 900, and this time I decided to just kind of go all out and not play with my queen, just to kind of make it a little bit more fair to her, because she is like, 800 elo below my rating, so I thought it would make it a little bit more even. So I start the game with the white pieces and go knight c3. And I didn't want to push any pawns forward, just because, like, not having my queen, I don't have any defense for like any major pawn pushes like up here or something like that. So I didn't want to do any of those moves, and even just doing a pawn move in general, it's a little committal, because it opens up either the dark squares for the dark square bishop, or the light squares for the light square bishop. So I only wanted to move my pawns after I knew kind of what she was going to open with. So that's why I moved knight c3. And she opens with it's kind of an odd pawn push, really, moving the f pawn to f5. And usually this usually wouldn't be called an excellent move, but the reason why it's considered one now is just because I don't have my queen, so I can't, like, push the pawn up and then like go for an early check or something like that, or like threaten this pawn early on because I don't have my queen. So that's why it's like an alright move. And also, I mean, it is an alright move in general, kind of thinking now, because although usually the bird's opening is played with white, you could also play it with black and just go like that, and then that, and then castle. And I was actually thinking about going that opening in a few moves here, where I wanted to go symmetrical, just because I didn't really know what to play against this weird, f pawn push. And the computer's saying like I could have played that, I guess, to grab the center. But pushing here also grabs the center, and it also prevents this pawn from moving forward. So I thought it was a decent move. And then Eve plays a pawn to d5, just grabbing more of the center, and also making sure that this square is like directly under her control. So my knight has no way of going here. My knight has no way of going there. You don't want to move back, of course, to either of these squares, and this is potentially an okay move. Maybe, I mean, she could continue development and like try and kick away my knight from there. So there's really not too many places my knight has to go right now. But there's a better option here that also kind of goes along with the bird's opening, because the bird's opening is where you move the knight here, and then as I showed before, it's like that, and then you just castle. So you're kind of fianchetto and then have the knight here and then castle. But after you move here, especially with these kind of pawn like structures, where two pawns have already been pushed to like almost the middle of the board, the knight on this square can usually come not there. The knight on this square can usually come to right there, and it would be a very good outpost for the knight, because not like this pawn or this pawn can no longer like come down and threaten the knight and try and kick it away. So it has to be threatened by like another, like, more powerful piece and stuff. It's just it's usually a good idea to have your knights on outposts like that. So That's why the computer's saying that that's the best move. I mean, I was planning on doing this. I just wanted to make sure that, as I said about the other move, that Eve can't push the pawn further down and like make it difficult for my knight to go different places and stuff. I didn't want that happening, so I just decided to do that first. And then she does this odd move, moving her king kind of out in the open a little bit, and it's not even, the computer's not even calling it like an inaccuracy or anything. It's actually an all right move, and of course, it wouldn't be an all right move if I had a queen, for a few reasons, but um, just because it's never a good idea to have it like on, because my queen would be there. It'd never be a good idea to have simple, accessible like checks and stuff on the king. It's not a good idea, especially in like openings and stuff. Usually, unless it's like a Ruy Lopez or something like that. But it's an alright move in this situation because I don't have a queen. And the idea of the move is to manually castle. And what the computer's showing is moving the knight out. And the idea is you get the king out, move the knight out, and then you put the king over here safely in the corner. And it doesn't really make too much sense, but I mean, he's just putting the king away, like really safe. And since this bishop has no way of getting on this file because my pawn's blocking it, and this knight has kind of no way of getting over here and stuff, it's a decent defense against any of my other attacks, kind of. And also, if I were to get the knight up here, it would no longer be able to check the king because it would be out in the corner, and like this square right here would be blocked by the king, and he would have to stop. Well, no, he wouldn't have to stop me from getting up here because then he could just take. This could potentially be a weakness, maybe because his rook's stuck in the corner. Maybe that's why it wasn't the best move, but that's the idea. Is that just you can just put your king in the corner, and it's faster than castling. So after she does that, then I just bring my knight out as I was planning to do before, and then trying to get it over here because he still hasn't moved the knight out, so I still have a potential check on him. And also, after I get to this outpost, then I have these two squares kind of under my control, and so the king's kind of blocked in if he were to have to move back again from check. So I was hoping that he wouldn't like move any more pieces like on the king side, so I could check him and get him like back to e8. But he moves the knight, or she moves the knight out where she should have a move ago. And both me and her are like, we're fighting for really good outposts because she wants this outpost that's guarded only by this knight, and I want this outpost that's not guarded at all right now. So my position here is probably slightly better. I mean, besides the fact that I don't have a queen, it's slightly better probably because my king is safer, and my knight has an undefended square that it can jump to and kind of attack the king through and stuff. And so after she moves there, then I try and get my dark square bishop out. Not trying to fianchetto, but trying to potentially go here a few moves from now when I like maybe push the pawn and then go here, and trying to keep Eve from pushing the e pawn, and then because if she did, then I would just take, and then like three of her pieces would be on the same file, and there wouldn't be much activity. That's what I was kind of planning to do by doing that move, and she responds by going a5. And this doesn't really stop my plans. It might actually help in a way, because now if I do this, she doesn't really have anything like if the pawn was still on a7, she doesn't really have anything like pushing the pawn to a6 and then pushing that pawn to a5 and threatening my pawn structure or anything. So it kind of helps solidify the position for me after I push a4, and then I still have this idea of going here. Maybe next move or something. The computer's saying that I should just go for here, and of course it is a free move because after I move there, then Eve would have to move the king because of check. So it is a free move to go there, which is probably why the computer's saying it's best, like to just go ahead and get your knight on the outpost. I was kind of preoccupied with the bishop idea at this point, so that's why I didn't do it right away. I mean, I thought, you know, it's that outpost isn't really going anywhere. I mean, unless she moves here. But even then, I still could potentially do this, and then if she takes, then I could do something like this, and then threaten the knight with the pawn, and that would also, if that pawn was gone on that square threatening the knight, then that would also have this diagonal open for my bishop, so it would be another way of my dark square bishop getting out, which it would be all right. So after I move there, then she goes on the other side of the board and moves her h pawn to h5, and instead of fully extending my h pawn to h4 this time, I go to h3 instead, and there's a good reason for this. And it's because if I had gone here, then the knight has a new outpost that it could go to on g4. So there would be like two weaknesses in my position now. There would be this one, and then there would be this one to worry about. And I didn't want to worry about more than one weakness in my position at a time. I mean, she has like a full other queen. I mean, granted, she's not using it, but she could. And if she did use it, then I would want my position to be solid. So I didn't want to have to worry about that, so I just moved to h3. And of course, the computer is still saying that knight to e5 is best move because, yes, it's still a free move, and I would just be able to check the king, and then I could move something like h3 or something like that. It's just the move orders kind of switched around, which is usually why players don't play the best move. It's just move order. So she goes e6, and this is good for her because it's making another square for the king to go to potentially if he needed to, and also it's giving this dark square bishop a long diagonal. So potentially she could go here with the bishop and pin my knight to my king, which might be a strong idea later on. I could of course do this though, which it would be fine in defending. But just the idea of continuing development, it's a strong idea, which is why it's an excellent move. And so, kind of seeing that she could potentially do that, I just go ahead and place my bishop on b2. So if she does do this, then taking the knight's no longer really a threat, because if she took, then I would just take back. So I wasn't really worried about the bishop then. I mean, technically that might be a good square now, because then she would be threatening a weak pawn. There's just a few ideas that I had about what she could do here. And so she just decides to put her knight on the outpost. And this seems like a decent idea. It's giving the king another square to go to, so he's not like all trapped in the back of the board there, and just fighting for the center, fighting to control these two squares. It's a decent idea, but I just go ahead and take the knight because there's no reason not to. Either pawn that she takes back with doesn't really matter. I'll still be able to bring my knight up here, and then just check the king, and the knight would be supported by both these pawns still, so it's not going anywhere. And then maybe like push to e3, and then solidify the position. So there's no weaknesses still. That was kind of what I was seeing. And at first, when I was looking at this, I was thinking, well, wouldn't it be better if she took with the d pawn, because then the king, the file that the king's on, wouldn't be all open for attacking and stuff. But it'd actually be counterproductive for her to take with the d pawn, because the queen really has no way of attacking and getting in. If she like moves here or something like that, she could do this, but I could simply just move my knight there instead or something like that. Just move the king to the side even would work, because everything's defended at that point. So it's not really a really super good way in. Now, what I didn't see was that she could take here and then possibly move the king here and then get her queen over here. And then she would have a nice attack because this pawn's still weak, and that this file is also closer to my king. So I think that's what the computer was seeing, and why it was saying that right here that's the best move, which I was kind of surprised by in the game, but it makes sense now. And so obviously at this point, there was nothing else to do but to just go ahead and play the move that the computer was wanting me to play the whole time. Just setting my knight on the nice outpost there. And so Eve's forced to just move the king forward or back. Computer saying back would have been better. Probably because there's a nice little way of escaping if there's ever any trouble. There's still a way here, but I always have this move if the king was ever forced back here. So it's kind of getting a little cramped for the king here. He can't really go here or here for escape. He can't really go here either. So he only has two ways of escape. And you don't want to go like further down the board towards my pieces, because that's just even less safe. So he really only has this one square, and then I always have this to push him back even further. So it's just a mess for Eve at this point. And so after she moves the king, I just decided to solidify the position by pushing my pawn up to e3. So this pawn could never like come down and then just take these two squares away from my king and stuff. And not only that, because there'd be no reason to move my king at this point, but if I like decide to castle long and stuff like that, because at that point I wouldn't be able to castle short, because I can't really move my pawns. I mean, I can move this one out, I guess, but yeah, I could do something like that possibly, but I don't know how safe that would be, like with the pawn coming down here possibly, and then this pawn coming down. I don't know how safe that would be to castle short. So I mean, I would castle long, and then once the rook was here, if the pawn was there, then the rook can't really use this square, so it would have to like go to that one, I guess, and then maybe attack the pawn. So maybe it would work, but it's just a lot of thinking that would just not have to be thought through if I just move that pawn forward. So that's what I did, just keeping that pawn there, and also making this nice little protection diamond around my knight, just keeping it there for sure. So I think she, at this point, when she was kind of wanting to get a stronger attack in, and a lot of kind of beginner or lower rated players make this mistake, where they think if you put the queen and the bishop together, then it's the attack will be stronger. But it really depends on what you're going for. Like the only move here that would make sense would be to go here, maybe. And at this point, this might work, but not because the bishop's there. I mean, this would be a logical move, even if the bishop wasn't there, because after I do something like this, maybe something like that, and then she could possibly take the pawn and threaten my bishop. But that's kind of a weak attack at this point, because this I don't really have to pawn push to this. I mean, I can, as I said before, I can just move to the side, and my position's like still perfectly safe. The queen can't really infiltrate to this square or this square or this square or this square because all my pieces are defending all those squares. So, I mean, it might look kind of scary because the bishop and the queen are aligned. It's not really as scary as it looks. There's no real threat here. And just remember that you don't always have to push pawns to defend correctly. Usually that's not the correct way to defend because then that just what makes weaknesses in your pawn structure, and you don't want your pawn structure to be weak. As you can see, like I have like all of my pawns are all connected, and some of her pawns are too, like these. All of her pawns are defended. Every single pawn has at least one defender to it, which is good. So I think that's what she was trying to do, but yeah, that's kind of a wrong way of thinking about attacks. You have to look deeper than just like, oh, I can check, and then if my opponent does like not the best move, then I might be able to get away with it. You have to think, well, if my opponent does play the best move, what am I going to do to that? Like, what would be the purpose of moving this queen here if I play this? Well, there would be no purpose because the queen's not doing anything then. There's no attack, and at that point, the queen would be moved away from the king, and the king would lose a defender. So I don't know how good of a move that would actually be at that point. So after she moves there, then I just long castle because I mean, I see this. I don't really want to have to just move my king and then lose castling rights. So I just want to go ahead and castle, and there's no real reason to be scared about maybe the queen going there because I can just take, and even if she just takes back with the bishop, I can simply move to b1, and then the dark square bishop can't attack light squares, so I'd be safe there. So after I long castle, she finally threatens my strong knight on the outpost with her knight. So, and I wasn't worried about her taking really because if she did that, then I would just take back and then like check the king. It would force him back, and I feel like I would have a pretty good chance here against her of like beating her or something. I think my position's pretty good at this point. I don't really have any like super obvious weaknesses in my position, so I think I would have a good chance. I mean, of course, I would rather have this outpost if I could, but you can't always get the best position that you would want to have, like in games and stuff. You just have to work with what you have. So, seeing that she might take my knight on the next move, I decided to go ahead and start getting ready for my next attack. Kind of seeing that, if she did take and I took with the pawn, then she would probably move to like a light square, like one of these light squares or something. And I thought I could like pawn push maybe, and then after take, and then like take or something, then I could like get this pawn up here. I mean, I know this is a long way off, but I would think at some point I'd be able to get my my bishop maybe on this diagonal, and then like move my other rook on this one, so I could have a kind of a strong attack maybe at some point further on in the game. That's kind of what I was looking at here. And she doesn't really do anything on the king side. She just decides to move a pawn on c file. Kind of. I think the idea of this move was to prepare that, which of course is a strong idea, of course, because that would be that'd be starting to get on this file, and I don't want her to infiltrate this file because there's not a lot of defenders on this side for the king. I mean, I could move over here, and then maybe there'd be 2 defenders for a1, but if she ever got her queen on this square or something like that, like if I had to move my dark square bishop for some reason, or even, yeah, because like if she did end up doing this or something, she ended up doing this, and then I take, and then she takes, and then I take like with light square bishop or something. She always has this pawn push, and it might not work like immediately, but if she like brought her knight over here, then she would have like a defense against my my light square bishop and stuff. So it would just start getting a little harder to defend, and even if she brought, like, she could bring her queen over here too. I'll show you what it looks like, because it might be kind of hard to visualize. Like, I'll just like move over here, and then like she moves the pawn down, and then I take, and then take. And then she could do something like that, or even I think this would be a better move. Kind of forcing the bishop back, maybe right there, and then like that would kind of trap the bishop. And if she didn't move there with the bishop and decide to like go, the only other move, like one of the only other moves is right here. Then she could just push the pawn again, and if I don't take, then she'll just take, and then have the file open for the rook. And if she does take, then I'll just or she'll if I do take, then she'll have two files. So it'd be pretty nasty of a position to play if she ever pushed this pawn. I didn't really want her I didn't want it to get to that. So I decided to push my g pawn to g4, trying to create a big threat here. And the way I do that is, if she doesn't take, then I can push the pawn again, and the king would kind of be forced into a weird situation where he can't go here or here, and the queen's blocking this, and the pawn's blocking this, and so he would have to go here, and you don't want him to go there at all. And if Eve did take, then I could take back anyway, threatening that position like a few next moves later, after taking, and then taking, and then she could like take this rook, I guess, and then I would have the open file too. So, or she doesn't have to take. She doesn't have to take my rook. But still, it's probably this file would get under my control anyway, is what I'm thinking, because if she if she didn't want to take my rook, she wanted to move there or something like that, like, or even here, then after I take and then she takes, and I would just slide my rook over anyway. So I would be getting that file no matter what, even if she just decided to take my pawn here. So I thought I was doing pretty well in this position. And it's actually, you kind of are forced to take the pawn, I think. Oh no, yeah, she could have taken my knight, of course, because that eliminates the defense on these two squares that I had. So she would have ways of escape for her king, which would have been a good idea at this point. But she doesn't do that. And also the computer is saying she could have moved her queen back, creating another way of escape right here. But she doesn't do that either. And what she ends up doing is just costing herself the game. She just like blunders the game. I don't even know what the idea of this move is. No, yeah, I don't think there really was an idea of this move. I guess that's why it's just a blunder. But there's a nice checkmate in 3 here. It might be kind of hard to see for some of y'all, but it is a force mate, and it starts with the pawn push, and it ends with a pawn also. So you push the pawn, forcing the king to go here, because, as I said before, the king can't go to either of these because the knight is guarding those. And then after the king goes there, then there's a bishop sacrifice, where you force forcing this pawn to capture the bishop to keep the king from getting checkmated. And then after the pawn captures the bishop, then you bring another attacker on the king, and that pawn is guarded by the knight, and the knight's guarded by these pawns. So moving this pawn actually paid off in the end, because at this point he can't, or she can't, take this pawn, whereas if I hadn't moved the pawn earlier on in the game, my position would have been weaker. These pawns wouldn't have been as strong, and she would have just been able to continue the game by just taking the pawn. So the main takeaway for me for this game is just make sure to always solidify your pawn structures, especially if you're gonna have you're gonna have like a knight on an outpost like this, where there's no pawn threats of attacking the knight or something like that. Always have your pawn structure solidified, and in the end of the game, that's what gave me this really nice, not technically a smothered mate, but it kind of looks like a smothered mate. There's like 3 pawns around the king. It looks pretty nice. But I was really happy about this game because of how it turned out, and just not having my queen in general it was nice knowing that I could beat Eva. Here's the accuracies, just in case y'all wanted to know. It was 95.9 against 79, so she didn't play awful for a 900. She didn't play too good either. She didn't make any. She made 1 blunder. It's not that bad though. No inaccuracies, no mistakes, no miswins. It's good stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.